Coming up on this episode of 101 Sports.
We take our first look at the NBA playoffs.
Plus, I go to the ice for 5 good minutes of playoff previews.
And we discuss the impact of some new North Carolina legislation.
All that and so much more.
And it all starts
right now.
Welcome to 101 Sports. I'm Stephen A. Harris.
And I'm Connor DelPrete. We're going to do our best to not pull a Brian Windhorse and fall asleep on live television. Stephen, you're first. Don't close your eyes. Here's the starting 5.
Recently, North Carolina Governor Pat McCrory recently signed into law House Bill 2, a law that prevents North Carolina cities from passing anti-LGBT discrimination laws of their own. This law has caused friction with many organizations, including the NBA, who recently stated that it could jeopardize the city of Charlotte to host the 2017 NBA All-Star Game. So, Connor, if this law stands, what kind of impact could this have on events such as the All-Star Game for North Carolina?
I think what this shows overall in the general picture is that organizations, sports organizations specifically, are willing to take a stand. Regardless of their political leanings, they have the power to boycott something. And so several sports cities are speaking out about this as well. I know Atlanta, the state of Georgia, is having an issue with this about the Super Bowl potentially in a couple of years. And so I think it just means that sports cities are going to start standing up to things like this that they don't agree with personally.
I think this is like, you hit the nail right on the head, because the NBA has straight up come out and said that it would consider pulling the All-Star Game from Charlotte. Charlotte fought tooth and nail to get that All-Star Game.
Yep.
And Georgia's fighting for the Super Bowl and all that stuff. They fought hard for that, and Charlotte was so excited to have that. And they're just going to pull the game out. And that's a lot of money lost for the city.
It's a lot of money.
It's going to cost the state.
It's a lot of headaches. It takes a lot to put on an All-Star game like that and to cancel it a year before it happens.
Exactly. But that doesn't mean the NBA is
these
going to
organizations want to be on the right side of history, and this is how you do it, is to side against HB2.
You know, it's good for the NBA to stand up for what they believe in and just yanking something like that.
Absolutely. The NFL owners' meetings were held this past week to give the owners, coaches, and front office a chance to discuss potential rule changes and make the game better. This year's meetings ended with 7 rule changes, including automatic ejections for players who have committed 2 unsportsmanlike conduct fouls. So do you think this will have any sort of major effect on the game in this coming season?
No, I really don't, because a lot of these rules were a little bit of kind of polishing a turd, you know what I mean? Like, they never really fixed the major issues that are kind of going on. It's all aesthetic, because a lot of these fouls weren't really major issues in the first place, like the chop block foul. Those were issues, but not a major issue. It's not something
I do love the chop block rule. I agree with you that none of them were life-changing, but the chop block rule will prevent a lot of injuries. They took a huge step forward in players' health, but the rest of it didn't really raise any eyebrows for me. You look at the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, I think it's just the NFL saying, hey, we're addressing player conduct on the field, but really they're not, because if you put this rule in last year, Odell Beckham Jr. and Josh Norman would not have been ejected based on these rules. So
exactly.
It doesn't really,
and that's the type of issues
anyone.
that I feel like these are the major issues that they're not addressing. It's just polishing and it's just kind of shining it up.
Absolutely.
The World Golf Championship came to a close this weekend with the Aussie Jason Day edging out Rory McIlroy on his way to the crown. Day also snatched up the world #1 seed from Wonder Kid Jordan Spieth, With the Masters starting next week, how do you think this change will kind of impact the golf game moving forward?
Well, I don't think a boost in confidence is ever a bad thing. Look, golf requires a strong mental fortitude, and more so than any other sport, if you ask me. And so if you aren't confident, I think it's going to affect your game. And so both players are clearly talking about, there's Jason Day saying, this journey to get to the #1 spot has been great for me. Jordan Spieth is saying, hey, maybe it's better for me if I'm not the #1 seed. So clearly it's a factor, and I think a boost in confidence is never a bad thing for a golfer. So I think it creates a more interesting aspect.
See, I don't really think it'll change much at all going forward, because ever since Tiger had lost the #1 seed, it's been just like a rotating wheel of who's getting #1, because golf's been so competitive. A guy like Rory McIlroy and Jordan Spieth, they fight, so they're going to stay up top. They're not going to shake themselves. They're not going to get the yips as a result of this. And I think they're going to still come out fighting, and I still think Jason Day is still going to have to fight.
Oh, definitely an interesting story
to win, because everyone shows out for the Masters.
Yep. As I watch my bracket become rendered to a burning pile of wrong picks and lost money, the NCAA men's basketball tournament surged on, and 4 teams remain. One of these teams is Syracuse, a 10 seed that most recently upset Virginia in the Elite Eight. The Orange are one of the many bracket buster teams this year, and this begs the question, has this March Madness produced the best upsets yet?
I'm not going to say it produced the best upsets yet, because I'm going to go back to when the last time my bracket was busted this bad, when Butler and VCU faced off in the Final Four. Those two teams combined for a total of 19 when you combine their seeds, which is an NCAA record. That's never been seen before. It's never been done before. And I don't know when the next time we're going to see it is, because 1 and 2 seeds just seem to always dominate these tournaments.
I agree with you. Statistically, it just hasn't been. Nate Silver of 538, who's actually a Michigan State grad himself, did an analysis about the Middle Tennessee upset over Michigan State, and they were the 3rd biggest upset in terms of win probability. But I still say, let's not forget that 12 wins by double-digit seeds this year are the most of all time, and Syracuse was rated by many, including myself 2 weeks ago, as one of the worst teams to historically make the tournament.
Oh, exactly.
And they're making moves in the
Syracuse
tournament. But again, the VCU matchup in the Final Four, like you were saying, there's nothing compared to that statistically and just
from a pure excitement standpoint, I still think FGCU, when they were as a 15 seed, that was still the most exciting time.
And then they won the next one against San Diego State.
Exactly. And that was a huge boost for that whole school as an entirety, because everyone wanted to go to FGCU and be a part of the school that just had a great upset. That's the kind of impact. Well, we'll see if that kind of impact happens with Middle Tennessee.
This year as much,
Exactly. So I want to see something like that.
Right.
This past Saturday, the UConn women's basketball team won their Sweet 16 game over Mississippi State by a record 60 points. The Huskies have dominated all season long, and this dominance has led to a heated debate over whether or not this is, according to some, killing the game. So, Connor, is UConn's superiority just getting tiresome and just getting bad for the game, or what do you think about it?
Well, let's make this first clear. UConn women's basketball is not ruining the sport. They are not ruining the sport. More and more young women are entering the game, and they're continuing their passion in basketball to, 1, be either recruited by UConn, or 2, be recruited to play against UConn and play against this fantastic program. But when we talk about viewership, it's a much different issue, if you ask me. UConn was more likely to win by 50-plus points this year than they were to win by 1 to 29 points. I'm not going to watch if that's the case every time.
Look, here's my thought on UConn basketball. If you don't like it, stop them. Because it's not their fault that they're just this dominant. Gino Auriemma is an amazing coach. Breonna Stewart is an amazing player. And these great players just keep going to UConn. So you know what? If you don't like it, stop them. That's all I have to say.
Agreed. That's all we have for the starting 5. But when we come back, Steven goes to the gridiron with our analyst to preview this year's NFL Draft.
The NFL is right around the corner, and it seems the only consensus is that no one has a clue what will happen. However, in the effort to get a clue, I'm here with Rajat Agrawal and Sophie Zavada, and we're going to figure out a little bit of what's kind of going on as soon as these teams get put on the clock. So, Sophie, I'm going to go to you first. The Titans have a top 2 pick for the 2nd year in a row. What do you think they should do with it?
I think they need to protect their franchise quarterback, so I'm going to go with Laramie Tunzel. Currently, their offense kind of is awful, and they need to protect him, and the best way to do that is to have a good offensive line, and so they need.
I like that, but the thing is, Mariota's mobile, and I think he's maybe one of the best mobile quarterbacks in the league. He can escape pass rushers, so I think get a pass rusher for yourself. And Joey Bosa, perhaps the best pass rusher in the draft, put him on your defense, get the ball back, and give Mariota more possessions. And I think that's where the Titans could go.
Well, they still need a good offensive line because they rank 27th in pass blocking for the league, and so they really need to even it out there.
That is true, but I think when you have Mariota as a strength on offense and you have no strengths on defense, even it out and balance it. But I do like what you're saying.
Fair is fair. The Titans need better
defense.
defense.
I got to go with Sophia this one, because if everyone's swarming you all the time, you can only escape for so long. And if you get hit too much, that whole mobility goes right away. And I think defensive line is one of the least issues of concern kind of on that Titans team. But Rajat, I'm coming to you. The Browns, they always seem to be in the top 5 every single year. But
they've got some problems.
They're picking number 4 this year. Who do you got? Let me hear. Who do they pick?
Yeah, the addition of Robert Griffin, I think, changes the dynamic now. Obviously, he is very mobile in his nature, and he can pass and he can run. So I think if you can complement him with a strong running back, that can be a powerful 1-2 duo. And the best running back, perhaps in the draft, is Ezekiel Elliott from Ohio State. Fantastic year, past 2 years really, in college football at the highest level at Ohio State, winning a national championship. I think if you put him back there with Robert Griffin, that offense finally will be something to deal with.
I don't know. I feel like he really didn't wow enough to be a top 3 pick. I think if anybody's going to pick him up, he's going to go 8th to the Eagles. And I think because of that pick, I don't think that the Browns are going to go with him. I think they're going to go with Carson Wentz because just because they have RG3, that doesn't mean they're going to stop looking for a good backup. And, as we've seen, RG3 gets hurt very easily, and they need a good backup for that. And I think Carson Wentz is going to be the best option.
The only thing is I'm not even sold if Carson Wentz is the best quarterback in the draft. I mean, you've got Jared Goff.
I think he's a dark horse.
Paxton Lynch.
He's a dark
I think
horse.
Paxton Lynch might be the best quarterback. But if they are going to go quarterback, then you got to pick from one of those three.
Yeah, Rajah, you're making it hard on me to go with you here because you said it yourself. You don't know what you're going to get in RG3
or Carson Wentz.
Exactly, but you can get a little bit more. You can kind of work up with a rookie quarterback. You have no idea what you're going to get in RG3, so you got to get a little bit of an insurance plan in there. So Sophie, you're 2 for 2. Let's see if you can go 3 for 3. We're going to the Chargers, and a move to LA is kind of on the horizon. So do you think with that move, they should just kind of go fresh and just kind of strip from the bottom up and see what they can get?
I think in terms of their defense, yes. Their offense is very good. They have a very good offensive line, and they have a lot of good wide receivers. And I think if you don't have a good defense, what good is your offense? So you really I think they need to strip down from the bottom and rebuild their entire defense. They have, as I said before, they have amazing offensive options, and they need to utilize it, and they need to protect their scoring.
Sophie, we disagree again. I'm going to go with revamping the offense. The issue is that a lot of them are free agents this year. So if you lose a lot of them, especially the offensive line, where I actually see it as a weakness, because you need to fill 3 gaps. You're losing 3 guys to free agency. They had the most combinations of offensive linemen last year, and that's not good. You want consistency on the line. Antonio Gates has been their go-to guy for years. He could retire. So Phillip Rivers needs help. He's a great quarterback, but he needs help on the offense, whether it's his line, receivers, anything, tight end. So I think you got to start with the offense.
I think they have some great wide receivers, but if you look at the past and you look at other examples of this, you can look at the Seahawks, and they started by revamping their entire defense, and they ended up winning a Super Bowl. And I think that's something that the Chargers can really do, especially when they move to LA.
Sophie, coming in with a clean sweep. I'm sorry, Rajah. I love it. She took the clean sweep because that defense is just too much of a weakness. And Keenan Allen will be there. They still got that. Phillip Rivers is still there. And then they still got Antonio Gates, who's still a solid guy.
Phillip Rivers is going to stand there and throw to one guy, and they're going to win the game.
Antonio Gates is still a solid guy, so don't worry about that defense.
Antonio Gates is going to retire.
This isn't the debate between you and me. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. She got the sweep.
Sorry,
it's okay. You're still a tough guy. We still love you, Gary. It's all right.
I still love you.
See, Sophie still loves you. That's all the time we have for the draft, but don't go anywhere as Cam rejoins Connor here at the desk to talk a little bit of NHL playoffs.
When you throw away money on wasted electricity, you're throwing away everything you could have bought with it. Saving energy saves you money.
You sure you don't want some? It's chamomile. Listen, you are extremely terrifying. Just the scariest undead subhuman thing on TV, and I really mean that. But I am worried that you could give my kids nightmares if they see you, so I'm gonna have to block you. So that's it. Oh, and tell the zombies they're blocked too.
While many Elon students were basking in the tropical sun rays and getting that much-needed tan, the NHL was business as usual with the Stanley Cup playoffs almost upon us. Our own Cam Saselski is here in the studio to analyze some of the teams and matchups before the road to the Stanley Cup begins. So let's start with some of the sleeper matchups. Matchups where people think they're going to be blowouts, but really they'll be good series overall.
Let me start by saying the standings right now aren't set in the East.
Right.
It's pretty much set in the West, but in the East, the 1st and 9th place teams are separated by only 6 points.
Wow.
So there's still a lot of hockey to play. But, if the playoffs started today, here's what we're going to work with. And sleeper matchups, I'm looking at the Bruins and the Rangers in coming out of the Eastern Conference. I think the Rangers have had a really good season, but the Bruins always turn it on, during
Especially
playoff
in
time.
playoffs,
Especially with these two teams. They're very similar teams. Their goal differentials this year were only separated by 3 goals. Their offenses have been kind of working at the same level. What is going to decide this series is that the Rangers have been better at home and the Bruins have been better on the road. So obviously the Rangers will have home ice advantage at this one. So I do see the Rangers taking that series if they would end up that way. Moving to the Western Conference, I think the Sharks-Kings series, if that were to be a series, I think people think that the Kings could take it just based on how the Sharks have performed, both during the season and in the playoffs in the past. But I think the Sharks are a very experienced team, players coming to the end of their career, but they've been around the block a time or two before. They know how to win tough series like this one will be. Daryl Sutter will have the Kings, playing that good, physical, Kings playoff hockey that has, made them so successful in the past few seasons, yes. But really the key matchup here is up the center of the ice. The Sharks have Joe Thornton, Logan Couture, Patrick Marleau at center, and the Kings, Anze Kopitar and Jeff Carter. These are the anchors of those offense. Those competitions, those matchups, that's what's going to decide this series. I do see the Kings taking that one.
Absolutely. Definitely some good matchups here. I see all teams that have performed well in the postseason previously. So these are all going to be great powerhouse matchups that'll always come down to 4-3 game deciding series. So some of these matchups even might end up in upsets, like we're saying. So let's go to some of the upset picks you have these playoffs.
Yeah, so everybody's hot on the Washington Capitals. And what's
Even
not
I
to
am.
like? They've had a great season, just clinched the President's Trophy, but I'm a little shaky on them. I'm
Really?
a little shaky on them. Looking at how they performed in the past, in the playoffs, we've seen Obi have a great season and then go away when
Disappears.
it's postseason time, which is terrible, and you never want to see that. A good stat that I took away, and people say Presidential Trophy, they're obviously the favorite. Of the last 13 Presidential Trophy winners, only 2 have won the Stanley Cup.
Wow.
And 4 of those teams have been knocked out in the first round. So I do think the Caps need to be careful, especially when they're going up a Philadelphia or Detroit or a Boston in the first round.
Yeah.
And even if they get through them, they might get Pittsburgh or Tampa Bay. Those are going to be tough series. So I think the Caps need to keep their eye out.
Yeah, absolutely. As a Caps fan, that hurts. But I can see where you're coming from. They've disappointed me year after year in the upsets. But let's go. Make me a little happier, maybe. Who's your Stanley Cup winner?
Okay, so we'll talk about the Caps in a minute because
Yeah.
obviously, after that season, you have to talk about them as a contender. But in the Western Conference, it's going to be pretty close. Chicago's going to be kicking around. The Kings are going to be kicking around. They've won the past 4 Stanley Cups. Those 2 teams have won the past 2 Stanley Cups and 5 of the last 6. With the Bruins winning in 2011. So obviously, those are teams to watch come the playoff time. But in the West, look out for Dallas. They've had a good season. They're a little banged up right now. Sagan's banged up. But, with the Ben brothers and Lettinen and Niemi in net, Niemi's an experienced goaltender, won that cup with Chicago. They could be a team to watch coming out of the Western Conference. But at the end of the day, the Washington Capitals are my pick to win the Stanley Cup. You just look, their goal differential this season, they're plus 61 right now.
Yeah.
That is nearly double the second closest team. Absolutely absurd. They've been stacked all season. You got Alex Ovechkin, Nicholas Backstrom, TJ Oshie, Brooks Orpik, and John Carlson on defense. Holtby, set the franchise record, just hit 56 wins. He'll probably get a couple more. If it was any year for the Caps to win the Stanley Cup, I think this is their year. Like I said, they just got to be careful with upsets. But at this point, the Washington Capitals are going to win the 2016
And when you look at the
NHL
Caps,
Stanley Cup.
clearly they haven't performed well in the postseason, but there gets a point at which a team reaches a level where you have to throw the past performances out the window and say this team is primed for a playoff.
And
run
also,
and a
I
deep one.
think we saw a lot of maturity with Alex Ovechkin this year. We're seeing him play a more complete game. We've seen him as this solely offensive threat, but he's playing both sides of that.
Yep.
He's leading this team, and he's going to lead them to the Stanley Cup.
Absolutely. That's all the time we have for this hockey segment, but up next, our analysts have another preview, this time the NBA playoffs.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. The NBA playoffs are nearly here, and I'm here with Andrew Zung and Evan Piercy, and they're going to preview the playoffs and get me, and all of you, of course, ready for the second season. So, Evan, I'm going to throw it to you first. We're going to talk a little bit of the East, and who's going to sneak in and get those bottom 2 seeds?
I'm going to have to go Pistons is the 7 seed, Pacers is the 8.
All right.
Now, the Pistons have been hot, winning 6 out of the last 5, or 5 out of their last 6 games. They've been playing great basketball. They got Drummond, who's a monster in there, surrounded with great three-point shooting. They're a hot team right now. They're going to close it out and get that 7 seed.
Now, I agree with you that the 2 people who are the 2 last in are going to be the Pistons and Pacers, but I'm putting the Pacers at my 7th seed. And the reason I'm going with that is just because I really like Paul George's experience in the playoffs. And same thing with some of the other veteran players. They have George Hill that can help carry the team a little bit, where I think the Pistons have a great future, but they just haven't had that great playoff experience. And I don't know if Drummond's going to be ready to carry that whole team just quite yet.
I don't know. I'm feeling the Pistons coming up here. They haven't been in the playoffs in a while, but I feel like this year they can really shock some teams in the East.
Yeah,
the East isn't that great.
No, I agree. That's how I feel with the Pacers, too, with Paul George coming back from an injury. I think both of those teams, though, will be very exciting to see.
Yeah, it's interesting that you both have the Pistons and the Pacers, but I got to give it to Evan just because the Pistons are so hot and they're peaking at the right time, and everybody knows that's the key to the NBA playoffs. But Andrew, I'm going to go to you for the second one. What first-round matchup, East or West Conference, is the most intriguing to you?
So I'm going to go back to the East with this one, and I actually think it's going to be the Raptors versus the 7th seed, which either will be the Pacers or Pistons. I'm just not sold on the Raptors yet. Casey, he hasn't been as great of a playoff coach as I expected, and DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry, I like them, but I don't think that they would be able to carry the team as much. And if a team like the Pistons or Pacers are hot, I don't think they can compete, especially with a guy like Paul George against the Raptors. I think he's going to be a matchup mixed match for him.
I can see that, but then I also see Toronto. I mean, you see the Raptors, and they've just been good all year. You know, they've been holding their own at the top of the East. You know, only 3 games behind the Cavaliers, where you know you could potentially have them winning,
but
getting the number 1 seed.
I don't think they would be though, just because they have a good team, but I don't think they have a great team. They're playing in a weak Eastern Conference, especially in their own division, where they're 11-2 against the teams, but they're playing the Sixers, Knicks, the Brooklyn Nets. I just don't see them being as good. And if you match them up with a team like the Pistons, if you're going down low, drumming in the 3-point shooters, they could definitely outdo a team of just DeRozan and Lowry with some of the other role players.
So if you're pretty solid on the Raptors, who you got is this intriguing matchup? I want to hear
intriguing
where you're
matchup.
going with
I actually have to go to the West because by far that is the stronger conference. And, you know, I'm going the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Portland Trailblazers. All I need to say is Lillard versus Westbrook.
See, I don't know.
That is over. It is done.
See, I'm excited for that. But
that
the thing
is
is, though,
going to be a great
the
series.
Portland Trailblazers, if you look at their point differential, they would be worse than any of the 8 Eastern Conference seed teams. And like you just said, the Eastern Conference is more weak. I think that the Trailblazers are too weak right now.
See, that's interesting. It's hard for me to go against the Raptors on this one because it's a team that's been swept by the Bulls and the Wizards. So are they a 2 seed? Have they really deserved it? So I kind of want to see what a hot team can do against them. But I'm not going to deny that a Russell Westbrook or Damian Lillard first-round matchup isn't going to be amazing. And we got to go. We always have to talk about this team. It's not an NBA block unless we talk about the Warriors. So if anyone can do it, Evan, who you got as being able to beat the Warriors in the 7-game series?
The Spurs. I mean, you look at the Warriors this year, and all the focus has been on them when nothing has been on San Antonio, and they are equally as good.
And the Spurs are the best when they're under the radar again.
Oh,
they're a
definitely.
fantastic
Popovich
team.
loves that. And, you know, Pop, whatever he did, he figured out the Curry rules, coming up with that. You know, you had Curry going 1 of 12 shooting threes. Mm-hmm. You had his shot being blocked. Where have you seen that? Like the world was going crazy. Like Curry got blocked.
The Spurs are going to be an underrated team at that, especially since on some nights they look better than the Warriors, and people are going to be surprised.
And I think you said it best yourself. The Spurs love it when they just can kind of quietly sneak up on everybody because that's exactly how Pop and Timmy D do it.
And in fact, the one game Golden State has been, you know, the underdog in was the game against the Spurs in San Antonio.
They lost too.
And they lost too.
That'll be a very exciting Western Conference final. I think you guys hit the nail right in the head. That's all the time we have for the association, but don't go anywhere as we turn over to Connor in the lounge for some Final Four action.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
No thanks, Dad. I got it.
Okay. I'm gonna go fix the lamp in your room.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of children in foster care who will take you just as you are.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Well, since none of my Final Four picks made it past the Elite Eight, I have no horse in the race, but that doesn't mean my eyes won't be glued to the television for the last 3 games of the NCAA men's basketball tournament. I'm joined in the lounge by Dominic Vernazza, Alex Ofori, and Chris Edwards, who discuss their champion. So guys, let's start it out. Present with me your champion, why you think they're going to win.
I'm going to go with the Tar Heels of North Carolina because they simply pound the paint. And you have Kennedy Meeks Isaiah Hicks, and of course Bryce Johnson, National Player of the Year candidate there. And I don't think any team left in the field can match their size. And along with that, Marcus Page has been on fire this tournament. And when he's hitting from outside, I really don't see many weaknesses for this North Carolina team.
To me, Marcus Page has been a little bit inconsistent for my taste. That's why I'm going to go with Oklahoma, because to me, I think Buddy Hield is probably the best player out of all 4 of these teams. He's averaging like 30 points right now, 47% from three-point land. Are you kidding me? This dude's on fire. And plus, Oklahoma, pretty much. Plus, they have like a solid team around. They've been doing great from three-point land. Katim Latham, who's been great on the defensive side. They have good veteran guard play with Cousins there as well. So I think Oklahoma really has a good shot at winning this title.
Yeah, Oklahoma's great. Obviously, Buddy Hield's basically been the college Steph Curry. But I think if there's one team that'd be able to slow him down, it's going to be Villanova. Their guards have been great defensively, especially Josh Hart, who I think can give him trouble on the perimeter. And I mean, you're not going to shut him down. No way. I mean, he's still going to hit some great shots, but I think Villanova's a team that can limit him. Inside, they have Daniel Ochefu, who can handle Bryce Johnson. So they got size, they got perimeter D, and defense wins championships, and Villanova's got the best one.
Yeah, the one thing with Villanova I worry about is, you talked about Ochefu. I mean, what else do they have down low after that? If, say, he gets in foul trouble, that's when things get a little tricky.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about UNC is, like, again, we're going back to UNC, like, Marcus Page has been too inconsistent for me. And I think, like, for all these teams, like, you have Marcus Page. For Nova, I'm not sure if you guys have that guy be like, here's the ball, take me to the promised land. With UNC, you got Marcus Page. With Oklahoma, you got Buddy Hield.
With Syracuse, you got...
Nobody.
Nobody. I mean,
why are they even here?
maybe Nova lacks a go-to scorer, but I mean, their offense has still been good this whole season. I mean, they dropped 92 on Miami, and Josh Hart's been talented offensively. Chris Jenkins can hit the three. I mean, maybe they don't have that, put the ball in his hands, go-to score, but they've got a solid trio of players.
I think with Nova on any night, one of their top 3 or 4 guys can have 20 points for you. It's a very well-rounded team.
I totally agree.
Absolutely. I'm not going to pick one here. I have no clue. I'm still decimated by my bracket, so my Dukies didn't.
Lost a lot of
money.
Michigan State, what are you doing?
I had Michigan State winning like all my brackets. That ended up so.
I had them winning a couple.
I had them winning in Kansas. So.
Absolutely. No matter what happens in the final few games, this tournament has certainly lived up to the March Madness name. Up next, I go back to the desk with Steven to discuss the power of sports. This past week, the Tampa Bay Rays and President Obama traveled to Cuba to play an exhibition game with the Cuban national team, the first such game since 1999. Sports can always play an interesting role in uniting people, so is there any particular instance that stands out to you, a similar instance?
For me, the biggest instance that stands out was the 1995 World Rugby Cup, because that was right after apartheid, after the discussions about apartheid in South Africa. It was the first time South Africa was allowed to participate. It was the third such competition, and South Africa hosted and won, and it was just such a major impact in bringing the country together after one of its truly darkest times, because apartheid was just such an ugly time period for South Africa, but they managed to get past it, go to the Rugby World Cup, and just dominate out there and just take home the goal. And I thought that was just a perfect way to kind of wrap up that whole story.
And bringing it from Africa to the United States, I'm going to go with the Mets' first game back in New York after 9/11. The nation was in mourning, much like it was for the Rugby World Cup, and this was a return to normalcy for the Mets and for the nation. The Mets wore the NYPD and fire department hats, and most of the season they had, frankly, not been great. But they came back. Mike Piazza cries during the national anthem and then hits a 2-run homer to win the game 3-2. Players donated their salaries to the families of the fallen. It was absolutely a moment when New York natives and Americans could come together as one, and baseball has that ability, and so does rugby, things like that.
It's important to recognize the power that these sports had in both of these situations and the impact it had in bringing everybody together.
Absolutely.
That's all the time we have for this episode of 101 Sports.
Huge thanks to the producers, crew, and talent for putting this show on, and to you, the viewer, for tuning in.
If you miss anything, please make sure to check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram at 101 Sports.
For all of us here at 101 Sports, thanks for watching, and as always,
whose side are you on?